The French Archdiocese of Tours has been left in shock following the back-to-back desecration of 3 Catholic churches. In the latest incident at Symphorien Church, perpetrators pried open the tabernacle and scattered consecrated hosts across the floor. Vandals also smashed open a door, ransacked the sacristy, and left human excrement inside the sanctuary. The diocese has filed a formal police complaint, though no suspects have been apprehended. The string of attacks began on July 22nd, with thefts targeting the parishes of St. Joan of Arc and St. Geneviève. In an official statement, the Archdiocese of Tours condemned the complete lack of civic responsibility plaguing society and announced upcoming Masses of Reparation for the affected communities. Local Mayor Michel Lamy strongly denounced the desecration, stating that nothing can ever justify an attack on a place of worship.
በስመ አብ ወወልድ ወመንፈስ ቅዱስ አሐዱ አምላክ አሜን.
C'était pour Emmanuel Macron sa 2e visite officielle en Éthiopie. Et depuis son premier déplacement en 2019, la situation régionale a beaucoup évolué, tout comme les relations entre Paris et Addis Abeba, autour notamment de la question de l'accès à la mer de l'Éthiopie. Un dossier central pour le Premier ministre éthiopien et au cœur de la rencontre entre les 2 dirigeants.
Une nation de 130 millions d'habitants, dont l'économie se développe rapidement, a besoin d'un accès à la mer par des moyens pacifiques et diplomatiques, grâce à l'aide de nations amies comme la France.
Message reçu et approuvé par Paris.
Ce que le Premier ministre a dit sur l'accès à la mer, la nécessité pour...
Avant l'Éthiopie, Emmanuel Macron s'était rendu à Djibouti.
French President Emmanuel Macron was shaking hands in southern France Tuesday when a man shouted "Down with Macronia" and slapped him in the face. He could also be heard on video shouting the battle cry of the French army when the country was still a monarchy. 2 of Macron's security detail tackled the man, and another ushered Macron away. But the president, a few seconds later, returned to the line of onlookers and resumed shaking hands. Macron later said he had not feared for his safety and that nothing would stop him from carrying on with his job. 2 people were arrested, a police source told Reuters. The identity of the man who slapped Macron and his motives were unclear.
Shifting focus now, Paris is burning. For the third night running, pitched battles are being fought in the suburbs of Paris. But even as the riots broke out, French President Emmanuel Macron has been missing in action. He was spotted grooving to a selection of Elton John hits. He may have been swaying to Candle in the Wind, but these pictures of Macron at the Accra Arena could add further levels to the flames of unrest licking away at
At the outset, Abiy Ahmed is not only allowed to do what he wants with the nation, but is also getting a lot of help from major players in the international community. The US lifted the military sanctions imposed on Ethiopia. The European Union is lending out a hand with 100 million euros or so to assist Abiy Ahmed's war efforts. Spearheaded by Emmanuel Macron and Giorgia Meloni's direct military training and advising contracts and agreements. Even after witnessing that more than 80% of the Ethiopian armed forces are engaged in a full-scale multi-front war in the Amhara region. Even after confirming that the 7-year-old war in the Oromo region continues with no end in sight. Even after observing the 2-year war in Tigray that consumed 1 million people, is being followed by a deliberate and systematic collective punishment of the entire population. Abiy Ahmed Ali is a spy. These are his own words, not ours. And ladies and gentlemen, once a spy is always a spy. The man would not hesitate to bring out the dirty laundry of the fornicating statesmen and African diplomats. He would not think twice about leaking evidence and proof of wrongdoing by pedophiles of Arabia, Europe and Asia. The publication of these files would make the things included in Epstein files look like a common felony. It is therefore logical to conclude that no outstanding contribution to this struggle for liberation and justice should be expected from the international community. But we must conclude the first part of our commentary with a rather daring, cunning, and yet cynical view and analysis of the role of the international powers regarding the current volatile situation in Ethiopia. The analysis alleges that the silence we observe in the international community is not a reflection of a mere ignorance on their part. It's rather a well-thought-out cunning plan that would outsmart the fox any time of any day. It is based on a premise that the world knows that Abiy Ahmed's days are numbered. The world also knows that wrestling with a pig would not only result in losing a fight, but it would also turn the contender to an untouchable filthy creature. Europeans, who are well versed and seasoned in diplomacy, are not intrigued by Abiy Ahmed anymore. But instead of confronting him, they chose to pamper this monster. They figured that the end result would remain the same. The tyrant would be ousted. How? It is like the story of the frog in a pot full of cold water, who enjoys the slowly rising temperature of the water until it makes a seamless and enjoyable transition from being alive to becoming someone's dinner. dead, of course. This, they believe, is the most humane approach to ousting a tyrant. Though we don't feel obligated to make a remark on this alleged stance of the international community, we will always hold a strong contempt for the powers that are cooperating with Abiy Ahmed in his ethnic cleansing venture.